are an accident waiting to happen.
Stephen A, hush your mouth, talking all that noise. You can hate all you want, but we still them boys. Dirty, dirty D, Texas where we stay at. Me inside in order till you know that's where we play at. Hey, this year, this the payback. Yeah, we them Cowboys, and nah, we don't play that. Work. This is Cowboy Nation. Work. Welcome to Cowboy Nation. Work. Y'all can keep on hate. Work.
Yes, Cowboy Nation, Cowboy Nation, Cowboys Nation. How you doing today? I'm just glad to be here. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm glad to be here because the preseason is over with, and now we are getting ready for the regular season. I'm excited. I know you're excited, and that's why you're here. So today, what we're getting ready to talk about is the first round of cuts, what the Cowboys are doing, and we're getting ready to get to that 53-man roster that will be here tomorrow at 3 p.m. So that means tomorrow afternoon, I'll have another video, and we'll be once again defending the boys. Before we get into those cuts, though, I do have a quick word from our sponsors. Yes, that is my word from our sponsors, the Cowboys versus Eagles watch party for defending the boys is going to be held at Hillside Social in Cedar Hill and is brought to you by the Car Wreck Attorneys at 1-833-I'm-HIT. That's 1-833-644-6448 is 1-833-OHIMHIT. If you ever hurt in a car accident, give them a phone call, 1-833-OIM-HIT. So the Cowboys had a little bit of movement today. They made some moves, and let me see if I can put it up on the screen. Boom, we have some cuts, but there are some things that's not up here that I want to talk about before we get into that, okay? You sly devils, you. Yeah, I'm talking to the Cowboy. You know, we always talk about, Jerry, every decision that is made that is horrible, we blame it on Jerry Jones. So I feel like if there is a good decision made, even though I know Jerry Jones had nothing to do with it, just like some of the bad decisions he doesn't have anything to do with, I just simply feel like we have to give him the credit for it because he's the general manager. And Phil Maffa's shoulder injury, to me, is an incredible move. I mean, y'all made sure because for some reason you want to keep Miles Sanders, and that's obviously that's a whole nother conversation. But I understand you want to keep him, but you don't want necessarily Phil Maffa to be on the waivers. You just drafted him. He might not make it back to you. So his injury is going to have him placed on injured reserve, and they're going to eventually bring him back in a little bit later. And if I remember the way that the rules work, I think he has to end up on the roster for a week, or maybe it's just a day, and then possibly going back down to the practice squad at that point. But the whole point is that they can actually bring Phil Maffa back off of injured reserve, and we don't have to worry about him ending up on another team. And so, again, that brings me to Miles Sanders, and I don't understand. I feel like Miles Sanders has lost a step. So let me be honest. Let me just be honest. All I've seen, I was not at practice. I didn't fly to California. I probably watched every practice video from DallasCowboys.com, everything that Vach put up, everything that Broadus put out there, everything that Steele had. I've watched all the Law Nation stuff, all of the national Jane Slaters. And I think if there was a video put up about the Dallas Cowboys practice, I've probably watched it. And I watched every preseason game at least twice. And there is nothing that I've seen about Miles Sanders that just says he has to be one of our running backs. I don't see it. I feel like that he's lost a step based upon the Miles Sanders that I remember, who was killing the Cowboys at one point in his career. I just feel like that's not the same running back. And so for what he's supposed to be, the quick, slicey, boom, 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 moving around type of running back, I personally feel like Deuce Vaughn is a better version of that. I'm not advocating for Deuce Vaughn to make the team either. I'm not saying that he just has played immaculately on defense. When we get to James Houston, I'm going to be fighting for James Houston. Not that anybody cares about my opinion, but that's somebody that I'll be fighting for. Deuce, I'm not necessarily fighting for him, but if we're going to have that space taken by somebody, I would rather have Deuce Vaughn than Miles Sanders. Now, I would have rather had Jaden, Javonte Williams, and Phil Maffa. That was my three. If you looked at my 53-man projection from yesterday, that's the way that I had it put out there. Apparently, that's not how it's going to work. They don't pay me the big bucks. They pay them the big bucks, and there's an absolute reason for that. However, that would have been the way that I would have wanted it to be, but it's not going to be that way. And that's okay. I'm okay with that if that's what they want to do. But I'm going to be really curious because Shotty, actually, it wasn't Shotty, it was Dak. Dak said that there's going to be some excitement in the offense. And I don't know if that's supposed to be all the passing game or if the run is supposed to be part of that. But I'm going to be very disappointed if we have the same issue that we had last year. You know, they hid Zeke the whole season, and all of a sudden we realized we didn't have the Zeke from old. Just like I feel like we're going to realize we don't have Miles Sanders from old, and we'll be in the season and him getting 1 yard carries over and over again, stalling drives out. I just don't feel like we would need to be able to do that. I'd rather, if I'm going to get 1 yard carries, I'll take my chances with Deuce Vaughn because I feel like he's going to break a few of them and get us a few places. So that's just me. Now, with that being said, that's probably more of a bias and me thinking he lost a step, possibly because he still has some vision or something. Maybe there's something there. I did not see it in the preseason games. I just didn't. I'm not saying he didn't have any good runs. I just didn't see anything that made me want to just stand up and cheer that Miles Sanders is on my team. So that's just personally me when it comes to that situation. But I am very excited that they decided that they were going to keep Phil Maffa, even if it meant putting him on injured reserve for his back or shoulder. I'm sorry, shoulder injury, right? Michael Parsons is the one with the back injury, right? And I guess they picked up something from Michael Parsons' thing. I still feel, by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there. I feel like the Michael Parsons back injury is the way that he's going to be able to sit out and still get paid for not playing. That's just something to watch. I hope that's not the case. I hope they can get that done in the next couple of days so he can start practicing and be ready for the Eagles. But I don't know. There's just something in me that says that the back injury is going to be what's being used for him not to lose any money while he actually sits out. But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to get into that part of the situation right now because we're here to talk about the cuts that were done today. And when you look at this list, I don't think anybody has a problem with the guard, Nick Broker. I know Denzel Daxon is part of the international plan, so I know they're going to cut him and then bring him back on the practice squad, and he's going to be the extra practice squad person that we have. So we'll have one additional practice squad person than what most teams actually get because we're part of that international program that they have going on. Josh Kelly, I didn't feel that Josh Kelly was going to actually make the team, although I'm not saying that he's a bad wide receiver. I just didn't feel like he was actually going to make it. He wasn't one of the guys that we were trying. Trayshawn Holden did a little bit better. I'm not saying Trayshawn is going to make the team. I still don't feel like he's going to be able to make the team this year either. But Josh Kelly was one of those who had a good college career, and big ups to him. I hope he has an opportunity to make it somewhere. Tyler Neville, I never felt like he was going to be one of those guys that was going to be able to make it. We were already pushing. We actually had a pretty decently deep tight end group, some guys that's really shown some stuff. As a matter of fact, if you really want to get into the tight end situation, John Stevens, it looked like just a couple of years ago, you wouldn't be able to tell me that in 2 years, John Stevens wouldn't even be able to make the team for the Cowboys, because I thought personally that he was going to be one of the better tight ends that we had on our team, one of those up and coming guys that I felt like was going to come. But, we've already gotten rid of 2 tight ends. That kind of tells me that there's a possibility that they're going to go light there. If you listen to Broadus, even, they talk about the fact that he only expects for them to go with 3 tight ends and then be able to use Hunter Lipke as like a 4th tight end as well as a fullback. So he's kind of bouncing back and forth between there. So again, those 2 names, John Stevens and Tyler Neville, as far as this year is concerned, none of those actually surprised me at all. Troy Pride had the bigger interception. I didn't feel like, even though I know at least I feel in cornerback, they're going to have to go deep. Trayvon Diggs is cleared, but I still don't feel, and there's nobody telling me right now, as far as the other guys who have connections, there's nobody telling me that Trayvon Diggs is going to be playing in week 1, much less having some significant snaps. So if he does play, there's going to be a limited snap count. And there's a lot of people that don't even believe that he will play in that first week. But if he does, there's going to be a limited snap count. But because he's now on the 53-man roster, you have to go a little bit deep at cornerback. And even with going deep at cornerback, Troy Pride wouldn't be one of the guys that would actually make the team. As a matter of fact, Broadus spoke today about the fact that Keemon Hall, who was on my 53-man projected roster, may not even actually make the team, which would put Israel Mukwamu, who is somebody I was trying to figure out how to get in, but it would definitely put him as part of the team, although Broadus also said that he didn't know if Israel Mukwamu was going to actually make the team. So there's going to be some things that's going to pop up here over the next 24 hours or so that's going to be really interested in knowing who it is that we got. I spoke about Lyle Collins yesterday. Lyle Collins is the homie, personally know the man, and I felt like he didn't get a fair shake, although I didn't talk to him about that. I said I personally know him because I know him, but not because I've spoken with him. I didn't call him or anything like that. So don't get me wrong there. My own personal opinion, I feel like they didn't really give him a chance. They brought him in. He had a couple of practices, and then, boom, they let him go. So I'm not exactly, I don't know if that was, I don't know. I said yesterday it was a favor for Dak or something. I'm not really sure, but I don't feel like Lyle Collins got a fair shake. I feel like even from a guard situation, which, he does play guard, but, veteran strength, being able to push people around, it looked unfair when he played against third stringers. I've heard 2 or 3 people say he doesn't move the same that he used to, but I just felt like there would have been something there that he could have at least gotten a shot if he lost the job. But, that's neither here nor there. They did release Lyle Collins, and then Christian Matthew as well was let go. So that was the first round of cuts. Obviously, we had 90 players on the team. How many was that? Let me go back and count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 9 when you include Phil Maffa. So you're still talking about 81 players that they're still having to make some decisions about, and there's only 53 spots. So they still got a lot of decisions that need to be made. And we're going to get that very soon. I mean, we're going to have that in just what's this, 18 hours or so. So I'm really excited about to see what that 53-man roster is going to be. I will be back with you guys tomorrow, and we're going to talk about the 53-man roster. We're going to talk about what we have, some possibilities, how I feel that offense is going to be, how I feel that the defense is going to be, and we'll start to prepare ourselves for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, this is D. Will. This is Defending